This conference will now be recorded.
So is the swap shop open?
We'll
Tuesday?
expect on what we decision today.
Okay.
I think I saw an email that said that they're ready to open tomorrow.
Yes, yeah, I talked to Jack.
Yeah.
God, it was, speaking of Jack, there was quite an article in the New Hampshire Bar Association news about tax deferral. We should really look at that.
Yeah.
The language on the back of our tax bill is insufficient, according to the article.
Are we all set?
Yeah, we have a minute, don't we?
I'm going by mine.
It's 9 o'clock, that's a little
Sorry,
slow.
stop.
Yep.
We're recording. Good morning. This is the Selectmen's meeting at the Townhouse, 9 o'clock, Monday, June 22nd, 2020. Members of the public wishing to attend this meeting electronically, please join from your computer, tablet, or smartphone. It's https://global, gotomeeting.com/join/99643391. And as usual, you can listen via telephone. It's toll free 1-877-309-2073, access code 996-433-941. Again, the toll free number is 1-877-309-2073. We have a quorum called to order. We'd ask that Clay Gallagher lead us in the pledge as we honor.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item of business is Island Day bid opening. And it's my understanding, Clay, we received no bids.
Yeah, I kind of expected that from the research that I've done in the past, the capabilities of people on the weekend. So, what I did was this email that I sent to you yesterday. I think it was the day before. Basically, for the background, we did a lot of research on it. We had a decision made to have it on Friday, 17th of July, from 8 to noon.
Clay, would you read this letter into the record, please?
Sure. I've made numerous attempts to find someone that would deliver and pick up a 30 to 40 yard open top container for Island Day at specific times on Saturday, 18 July, yielded with no results. Presented that result to the Selectmen last year along with the recommendations to have Island Day on Friday, the 17th of July, so we could control the time of container drop-off and pickup. One Selectman was at the meeting with Waste Management a few weeks later, where they confirmed they could deliver and pick up a container at a specific time on Friday to prevent illegal dumping and illegal items being put in the container when not supervised by a town official. They would not be able to do so on weekends. The info was passed to the Board of Selectmen. They decided to make one last attempt to provide an alternate means to accomplish a mission on a Saturday versus changing to a weekday. The Board of Selectmen directed we put an RFP out in the paper to see if anyone could put in a proposal that would meet the criteria listed. See attached RFP, and here's the attached RFP that was put out in the paper. And we did not get any results. Is that correct, Karen?
Right.
Thank you.
Yep. So, given that we didn't get the results, my recommendation is to again go back to the original decision that we made, is to have have Island Day on Friday, the 17th of July, from 8 to noon. And I still will have the same contracted individuals, for loading and unloading the containers. In addition to that, I'm also gonna talk to the, police to have that dock monitored, increase in monitoring on the dock for Friday and for Saturday. So that individuals just don't come over and dump some stuff off. So with that, my recommendation is to have it on Friday the 17th. I will put it in the Tufton Borough Times. We'll also put it in the paper. And, I've already had a lady from the Island Board call, and I told her we will be making a decision today on the same thing, so.
Any discussion from the board?
So you're gonna be open, or it's gonna be there at what time in the morning?
Friday, 8 o'clock to noon.
12 o'clock. And
The container will be dropped off between 7 and 7:30.
is that gonna give us, I mean, it's 4 hours, is that time enough for everybody to get their stuff in there?
Yes, that's what we've always done.
The only thing that's changing is not the procedure, is
A day,
Right.
right,
if someone has something that frankly, the Tufton needs to
Then-
call off, he hauls it off for you.
right. And what we will do, because normally, if it was on a Saturday, we would be open at the transfer station. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take both of the, full-time guys with me to Island Day. So all three of us do it. And then once we start, then I'll have one of them go up to the transfer station, so that when we transport stuff back and forth, we have the station open, just for that transport. That way, I'll get all the full-time guys up to speed on how to run Island Day, if for some reason I'm not.
Cross training. Any other discussion on that?
I'm gonna make a motion that we, declare Friday the 17th of July, Island Day for trash removal, June 19th.
I'll second. Any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes 3-0. Just let me do some other things, Clay, and I'll
Okay.
call you back up, okay?
Okay.
Our public input, there's no one here, but is there anyone on the line or computer?
So if you just want to mention that anyone that is interested in, speaking, to send a comment to me on through the link.
So there's two ways. If somebody's on the phone, there's a way that they can indicate no?
No,
All right, so it's just on the GoToMeeting that they can send you a question?
yeah, and I see it's Steve Wingate actually, so let me see.
Okay.
Steve, do you see the message that I sent to you online? I'm not sure if you wish to speak.
Are you addressing me?
There you go, Steve. Yes, would you like to speak during public input?
No, I don't need to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome aboard, Steve. Seeing that, we'll move on to the next item, and it's to review and approve the minutes. First up is Friday, June 5th, 9 a.m., Selectmen's work session minutes. I have nothing to change.
I move approval as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next is June 5th, non-public at 9:10. I have no changes.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
I'm not sure we need to keep it sealed. It doesn't look like we do.
No, I'll move that we unseal these minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next is Selectmen's regular meeting here at the Townhouse, Monday, June 8th at 9 a.m. I have no issues.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. This is, non-public, June 8th at 11:51. I have no issues.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. And they stay sealed, correct?
Yes, I would say so.
Friday, June 12th, work session for the Selectmen, 9 a.m. I have no issues.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. June 12th, non-public, 9:31 a.m.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. And I move that we unseal them.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next, June 15th at 9 a.m., Selectmen's work session. I have no issues.
So I, move approval.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay.
June 15th, non-public, 10 a.m.
We have a public on the 15th also.
What?
Public on the 15th.
Yes, we had a June 15th work session minutes. We just did,
No?
didn't we?
Public on the 15th?
Yep.
Didn't we
Yeah.
just do the work session?
I hope so, yeah.
We just did this one here. We just did.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought it was a
Do
non-public.
you want to review it?
Huh? No,
And we
no,
have
that's good.
two non-public.
Okay,
Yep.
June 15th at 10 o'clock, non-public.
Yep, I'm sorry, I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Next is June 15th at 10:10. This is non-public.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's it for the minutes, correct? Nice job. Thank you for waiting, sir. Come on down again.
Guys are busy.
How with your things along?
This is the agenda. Obviously, we've already talked about, number one, Island Day, 17 July. We did get, we encumbered funds for new doors. Jeff Walker came in and did an outstanding job, removing the old doors and putting the new doors in, doing the work necessary to make everything level. The building is not level. It is canting a little bit towards the water. But he did an excellent job, and the doors are operational and look great. So a good kudos to him, and he did it on budget, on time. So they are complete and in. I put his remaining slip in for the bills to be paid this week.
So it's all done.
So it's all done and complete.
Great.
And that was, I think, $3,000 that was encumbered. We paid $2,000 of that for materials already, and I have 1,000 remaining.
And I think he saved you some money, rather than putting a expensive Dutch door in, he's going to manufacture one at a stage for you, right?
Yes.
On your
Yeah.
office, just so
Yep.
people aren't wandering in and
Right.
out.
Yeah. It'll be like the office setup that they have in town office, with a little shelf on the top.
Sounds great, sir.
Next order is landfill monitoring. A few meetings ago was tasked to get together with Dave Allwine from Stantec, come up with a 3-year proposal for going out to bid for the next 3 years. He has written what we requested of him. He gave us these are 2 background letters.
And that should be in your correspondence.
Oh, it's in the correspondence?
Should be, yeah.
Okay. I
In
should,
the purple folder.
I didn't need to, that's 2 or what? I think that's 2. Give one to Lloyd. And then this is the second one. Lloyd. And then his draft for starting to work on the RFP, which I think is excellent. And this is what we'll talk about primarily, Bill. We'll talk about this draft if you, he broke it down. He's recommending breaking it down by years because each year has different requirements. And that's why I wanted him to put in a table, in a timeline type table, which he's done in a graph.
When you say different requirements, my understanding is there might be a medal or something that you don't have to do every year, you do every 3 years or 5 years.
Correct.
That in the past, why it is
Well,
varied.
it's also, some reports are due biannual and some are due annual. So that, and if you have any, that's primarily what it is the difference in timeline from reporting. We had gotten an extension, so we didn't have to do the report every year. We do it every 2 years, every year and a half, et cetera. So
I'll make an editorial comment. Since you've been there, it's been my observation, if you don't need to do something by state standard, why pay the extra $1,000? You know, you've,
right.
it's kind of like taking your car in to be checked.
Well, we work with Dave, and Dave works with DES, and then they give us the permit for the landfill. And it's good for 5 years. We just got it last year, I believe. And so this will give a 3-year parameter from 2021 to 2023. And if you look, the water quality monitoring, he broke it down into 2 types of monitoring: the landfill post-closure monitoring and water quality monitoring. There's 2 separate requirements. And he presented the tables and the requirements for each one of those reporting criteria and testing criteria. And then on the 3rd page of this, he broke it down by year because the requirements are different for each year. And so when people put a bid in, they should put an amount into each one of these lines, okay, and then the total 3-year bid, okay? So that way we're comparing apples to apples when we have all these companies put their stuff in. Additionally, on the last page, okay, the last paragraph, final billing for each yearly task must be submitted to the town by December 31st of each contract year. Any task for the prior year completed under this contract after December 31st and billed after December 31st may not be reimbursed by the town. Okay, that's saying if you don't get the bills into us in our budget year, we're not going to pay the bill.
Now, they have improved on that.
Oh, absolutely. They've met they've met that requirement.
You made it
Yes.
condition.
And Dave was the one that got that done. What I would recommend, and we, obviously, we're gonna have a meeting in July that Dave will attend either telephonically or however you all determine.
Mm-hmm.
But I would recommend that we also include a sentence under, in this RFP when we come up with it, is that, any findings that could be detrimental to the town monitoring of the landfill, the town should be immediately notified with proposals, along with a proposal for how to remediate that finding. So that, in writing, we have, the minute they find something in any one of these monitoring locations, because it's Greek to us, it's DES requirement. So when something comes out of the ordinary, like a PFAS number is elevated or something like that, that we get notification to the town from the company that says this isn't abnormal and this is what we recommend to fix it.
And not to put too fine a point on it, but I agree, including language like that in the RFP is important. We also need to put a time frame. So, in other words, when they get results that show that within a certain period of time, the town needs to be notified.
Right.
And we're not expecting them to pick the phone up and call that day, but whatever the reasonable amount of time is, a week, or
Right.
if you don't specify, then it becomes
10 months from now. Well, we were going to do that.
It was in my inbox,
Yeah.
and by the time I got to it, it's a month later.
Right.
I presume that most of the outfits that do this kind of work are somewhat set up to do it, but it doesn't.
Yes.
It does not hurt to include.
Right, yeah, and my whole game plan and goal right from the start of this was that, as far as the landfill monitoring goes and our permit for the landfill, that we keep that, secure under just landfill monitoring and our association with DES and our association with Stantec. Single test. Any other requirements that come up, somebody wants something tested here, somebody wants something tested, that should be a separate program and not fall under the landfill monitoring.
Isn't that called mission creep in your?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, in an ideal world, that would work. Unfortunately, we are subject to annual budgeting.
Right.
So unless we want to stuff some money into testing, in case we need to test, then we can't bifurcate this budget that much. I mean,
Well, what I would
can't
recommend is another budget line.
hire somebody.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna, okay, let's say we create another budget line. Now we have to get some sort of estimates as to how much money we should put on that budget line.
Right, and what the conservation committee does, that's what they do, right? I mean, who is doing the 19 Mile Bay?
19 Mile Brook?
Yeah.
The work we had done last year was done by a consulting group, Normando, right? Normando Associates.
Right.
Yeah.
And who manages that?
Conservation
Commission. And so that's what I would recommend, because if I can't budget for something that is unknown.
Right.
And it muddies the water when we get more individuals in dealing with the DES requirements and what we're required to do, what the reporting we're required to do, and the outfit that's doing the reporting being directed by different people.
Well, I think,
That's all I'm
I guess where I'm coming from is, the end goal is we've got a waste depository sitting there, and it's over an aquifer or the Melvin River headwaters or whatever. I think we need to be inclusive in that we need to know that we're not adversely affecting that aquifer.
Yeah,
So
totally
maybe
agree.
we need to add a well. And I don't know that I mean, I understand where you're coming from. You just want to manage the section you have.
I want one person telling
Right.
Stantec what to do,
Right.
you know?
But as a town, we need to make sure that we're getting ahead of this.
There's a global approach.
Yeah, we don't want to find out that Melvin Bay is polluted because we never bothered to check.
Well, I agree with you, that's a separate issue.
It's a separate operation.
It's all related,
Yeah.
but in terms of, how we deal with it, whether it be, a separate article on the warrant with money to
Right.
specifically, like we did with, 19 Mile Brook, or
Yeah,
some provision in the budget for adding it. But I think what you're saying, Clay, is
Command and control.
what we're doing here with the monitoring is as required to satisfy the DES, to keep our permit, to prevent them from closing down.
Correct.
What we're doing up there and triggering other things going on. So separate from that, if there's other stuff that we need to address, we may want to look at Stantec to do it or somebody else to do it, but distinct from the ongoing landfill monitoring, right?
Correct. Absolutely, because
one last caveat to that is that if, let's say we separate it up and make the Conservation Commission the Melvin River portion and Clay operating the landfill. And now we've got one set of engineers that's working over here, another set of engineers that's working over here. And we end up with what we ended up with last year, with those bids that came in. It becomes a pissing contest amongst engineers about who's right and who's wrong. We don't need that.
No,
What we need
you're
is
right.
certainty. So I got a call from Larry Gill a week or two ago,
I'm sure you did.
talking about how to, what needs to happen or what should happen according to Sanborn Head in one area. I don't want them hiring Sanborn Head and then Sanborn Head arguing with Santec about where it's coming from, what it is, what we do about it. We need certainty. So,
Well, there is no certainty.
well, I know, but we need at least just one
Well, we
opinion.
need a coordination, and, competing groups are gonna have different opinions about the way to proceed with respect to specific issues. But concern about this whole thing developed, as I remember, out of a difference of opinion between one engineering group and another on how to address a separate issue from the landfill monitoring, right? And, so I have no problem as a board for us to get all of those players in the room, either virtually or, or in the room and say, okay, we all gotta be adults here. Your experience says this is the approach. Your experience says this is the approach. Ultimately, this board has to make a decision which way we wanna go on a particular issue.
Right.
In my opinion, it is unprofessional for one group to cast aspersions on the way somebody else is carrying out a contract that satisfies the requirements with the DES.
correct.
As I recall,
and has done it very well,
Yeah.
i.e.
Right.
the PFAS stuff from Dover and down near Portsmouth.
Yeah.
When it first started, that company brought it to our attention,
Right.
and we led turn by 2 years everybody else.
Well, as I remember, the concern was raised not with respect to what the ongoing landfill monitoring, but consultant A's proposal for how we get our arms around this other thing as opposed to consultant B's. So, and that's where it becomes incumbent on us to, there's not gonna be any certainty, you just gotta.
Well, yeah, and I agree with you, the argument, I mean, and a lot of the arguments, I mean, I could fall asleep listening to them because they just don't have any bearing on my life, but the other aspect of this, and I don't mean to be the fly in the ointment, but we're looking at signing a 3-year contract. DES just, or the legislature, whatever, passed a bill about PFAS in September, which is taking effect now. What's going to happen, and I don't think they've fully addressed that situation, what's going to happen in the next 3 years?
Well,
and are we going to have to?
And what happens is DES will come out and say you have to start doing such and such, and whoever we have the contract with, we're going to use them to do it. It's going to be an additional charge over what we've already agreed to. Right?
Well, that's the way it should happen. That's why we're going to add that sentence in there. Any changes that we need to do need to be brought to our attention in a timely
They have
fashion.
contracts, they protect both sides. I can sit down with you and renegotiate any of the 5 elements.
I am not negative against the big picture. The big picture, as a town, we want to make sure that everything is right. I just want to fence in command and control of our permit and the monitoring requirements for that permit, and keep everything else out of that dome. Because otherwise, what's going to happen is what happened in the past. Things were added, other people were telling other people what to do, things were dropped, things were not put into somebody's satisfaction, yet we're still, trying to meet the specifications of the permit monitoring requirement.
Can I ask you, do you have another item to bring up?
Yes, I have a few. And that's all I wanted to present was what they had put forward, my recommendations, and we'll set a meeting sometime in July.
July 6th, I remember what the Larry and Steve.
Yeah.
July 6th?
You just said that date a while back.
Yeah, don't we have a lot of other stuff going on that day?
You know, I actually looked ahead, we have the public hearing.
Public information session on the police facility, right? Yeah.
And I don't think we have any department head updates that day, so it might not actually be a bad day. I'll look at it again when I get to my desk, but.
Could we have a proposal for the bid? Because pretty much he's got that done. It's just adding a few sentences.
Like where the submit things like
Yeah.
that before. Yep, definitely, yep. As long as the selectmen are fine with the way they all want to put that together, I'll just try to craft something for people to respond.
Phil, I think you're onto something here. July 6th at 9 o'clock, we have public information session on the police station, and I think there's some people gearing up to speak. So as chairman, I'm listening to what you have to say.
Even though it doesn't look like we have a lot on the agenda, we may spend an hour or more on the public information. And my thought is to put it on a different date, even if it's one with department head. Then we're not, then we don't run into the situation we do sometimes where I can hardly sit anymore because we're,
And who knows what's gonna happen too between now and then,
right, exactly, with stuff that comes up, so.
Well, I hope
I-
the police meeting lasts that long, 'cause that will mean that they actually have
Yeah, well,
taken our advice.
well, that's right, exactly.
I guess my question boils down to what we last said. We're having a meeting with Steve and Larry Gill on permit monitoring of the transfer station.
No, I think we're having a meeting with them on their concerns about other things outside the permit.
Right.
These other issues like the seep and all that kind of thing. I think that's what Larry's concerned about, right?
Right.
So what does that have to do with this contract?
Doesn't.
Okay.
Well, no, it doesn't have anything to do with the state permit, but it has everything to do with the landfill. So we need to marry those two concepts and either create something that the Conservation Commission's happy with doing, or be more inclusive in our RFP for the landfill.
There's other examples of where there's
There's a test
where
one.
there's commingled. For example, Jim Beam has roads, summer maintenance, winter maintenance, but he also is building new roads. There is a nexus and a connection between the two, so.
And there are test wells in the vicinity of this problem that
Mm-hmm.
Larry Gill's brought up. So it isn't as if it's outside the scope of the testing wells. There are testing wells there. So we just need to get some agreement on how we're gonna, I mean, I understand you wanna simplify it to just landfill issues, but if we've already got the test well there, do we have?
Well, the test well doesn't belong to any particular company. They belong to us.
Right.
So if we look at using those test wells to gather other
Right.
data to associate with other things, it doesn't matter whether contractor A does it or contractor Z. It can be a totally separate
Right.
thing, right?
But if or we could look at it and say, okay, let's expand or put an addendum to our landfill closure permit RFP and say this additional testing also needs to get done, or this well needs to be tested.
Karen, could you work with Bill, making sure we don't get it jammed up July 6th? I think he has a valid point.
We'll know better once the Conservation Commission weighs in on that.
Yep.
Maybe it takes a work session, I don't know, I'm just throwing things out, okay. Any other issues?
Yes. Transfer station reopening,
Phase 2.
phase 2.
Morning, Dennis.
And Karen is all prepared to do the blow up, so you recommend the,
Big signs.
bigger signs. And I will also put, signs up, on the compactor walls. We're back to normal. My recommendation basically is, the draft that I sent around, the final draft that I sent around, that the recycling building will be back to providing normal services at normal locations inside the building. All those items outside the building, all the items listed there. We will highly recommend that residents wear a face mask and use hand sanitizer prior to entering. That we do have tall ceilings, we have ventilation fans, and we will have the doors open. And I went up and picked up PPE at Tamworth on Thursday. So we have a good supply, and I can back up the swap shop operation with supplies as well. The current cable setup inside of the recycling center gives an automatic 6 feet separation between the employees and the residents. So that will work out well, and we will keep any of the garage doors roped off, and we will rope off the back loading dock area, so that the only thing can be accessed from the outside is the glass container out back. So we'll be back to our normal operation as far as all the recycling The swap shop will also be open. Mask and gloves will be required in the swap shop because it's a smaller, confined space and stuff has been touched. And that material will be, made available at the door. The only thing that, will still be closed will be the Planet Aid, closed containers. I don't control that. They're still not picking up. As soon as they resume picking up in the state, then, I will bring those containers back out and place them in the location, so. And we will continue with the compact offices, the compactor office doors being closed and on off-limits area to residents. Any employee, anytime they get within 6 feet of anybody, will be required to wear a mask.
So did the system that you had in place
Worked great.
work?
People loved it. It's a good backup plan.
No reason to include that in the ongoing reopening?
What we were doing?
Yeah.
No, because we'll go back to everything inside. The key to everything is our ability to bale cardboard. That's the key to everything.
Can I address that?
Yeah, because right now, and the reason we had to restrict the CD containers was we had to have some place to put the cardboard. We couldn't put all the cardboard in the compactor or we would run out of space in a day on the weekends. And so we had to keep 2 of the CD containers. That way we had overflow capability for trash and room to store CD. So the limitation for getting back to normal is that the restrictions are lifted as far as opening back up, and that we start baling cardboard again. And once we start doing that, and we're already set up. The last 2 hours of work yesterday, we're setting the facility up to open up as normal with spacing criteria and the protective gear as appropriate. So I'm gonna recommend that we establish phase 2 reopening and reopen tomorrow at the start of business with the restrictions that are in red as far as protective.
I will move approval of that.
I'll second with any other discussion.
I'd like some discussion, please.
So you're gonna create signage for this, the red item?
This sign will be put on the door, and Karen is going to create the blown up, the bigger sign.
With the highlights, the stuff that.
The highlights, right. And that will also go on the door. There's not gonna be any need for any outside or external signs other than up on the compactor, the walls of the compactor. The recycling building is now back open to normal operation.
Right.
And I will have per diem guys on. In addition, somebody will be directing that the traffic go right to the recycling building. And that has worked. When we've changed, we've added usually a per diem guy every day, and helped direct the people. And after 2 weeks, everybody pretty much is up to speed. And we will start selling stickers at the facility, tomorrow. The swap shop will be open. I talked to Jackie. She's got volunteers for Tuesday. She's looking for Saturday and Sunday. And the swap shop days are Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday.
You're doing your transactions like stickers and
Right.
CD through the window?
Through the window, or now the building will be open.
Yeah.
I will have the door, but I'll have it blocked off and they can come to the doorway, but not inside the office.
And how's the toilet coming?
fixed.
Oh, good.
Did an excellent job.
I'm sorry, we're talking about opening,
Yes,
about the toilet in a minute.
okay.
Under discussion, I'll just tell you my concerns, and I march to a different drummer. First of all, we're waiting for one of the packing machines to be replaced, right?
Right? Mm-hmm.
And that does cardboard,
Yeah, we have two that are doing cardboard.
okay? I took a course Thursday, and I was shocked to find out that they now say COVID attaches to cardboard for up to 36 hours. I haven't been able to verify that,
No.
but that sent a little red sign up. Let me finish, please. Cardboard needs to get done, so construction debris has 2 containers to put it in. And I predict from the people I know in town that for the first week and a half, every contractor in the world's gonna be showing up with stuff from their projects, so you're gonna be busy.
Mm-hmm.
I've spoken, thank you.
Right. We have talked about that. Anybody that handles cardboard is gonna be wearing gloves.
Yeah.
And so, I have, we have allowed pickup size loads. Hopefully, it's not gonna be as much as, it could be, because some of the contractors have gone to alternate means. But there will be, the first few days will probably be pretty heavy, but.
So let me suggest then that we continue with pickup size loads only for C and D for some period of time, okay? To ensure that we don't overload ourselves on C and D. I mean, the first step is making the containers available, because we're not using them for, cardboard. And, oh, by the way, now the cardboard gets recycled instead of going to landfill, right? Which is a plus. And so if we continue to only take pickup size loads of C and D, you'll be able to see ultimately if we're running into problems, if we have the extra space to begin to take some of this other stuff on.
Is that a form of amended motion?
I'm just throwing out there for discussion.
I would like to try just opening back up to normal. I think we will be able to handle it. We're averaging about 1 to 1.5 containers for C and D for a weekend with pickup loads. That'll give us 2.5, and we have 1 30-yard container as a spare. So I think we'll be fine. I would rather only change it once, and try it,
Yep.
see how it goes.
And of course, you always reserve the right to, if you don't have any room for C and D, tell somebody that brings
Right.
it that we can't take it today because I'm full up.
Right.
And they're just in a place to.
Right.
It's an inconvenience to them, but it's just the way life is. I'm hopeful that the guys the contractors that drag big amounts of stuff are at least in enough communication with you that they don't show up
Right.
on Sunday afternoon with so much that, you can't take it in.
Right.
Any further discussion? Are you ready to vote?
So is there a motion on the floor?
There is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Motion, back, please, Karen.
I had the, Selectman Markson to approve reopening the transfer station tomorrow.
To phase two reopening effective, June 23rd.
As written.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Before you leave, the bathroom was done by Brian Hastings, thank you.
Brian Talbot
Talbot,
did an excellent job.
I understand that your opening memo made it to Bonnie. Who is Bonnie?
Yeah, I will send this to Bonnie is from NRA.
Bethune.
She's our rep from NRA.
What's her name?
Bonnie Bethune.
Okay. The reason I ask that is it's come to my attention when I was at another recycling center last weekend. They have your policies and procedures word for word, so.
Yeah, they've been using our phased reopening, our closing, our phased reopening, phase 1. They've been using that as a model. They thought it was very well crafted. crafted and thought out.
On another note, Jim Bean put me on to the name Jedry. Is a rock company on Alton on 28, and the Renegade contractors who've been dumping brick and concrete. It's a possibility they'll take it. I was gonna stop by the other day, but they were paving the highway, and I was gonna put my car down through the tab. I will follow up with you on it.
Okay.
Are you all set?
One more, July 4th, Karen asked a question, are you gonna be open or closed July 4th? That's a Saturday. We will be closed, July 4th. With the exception is, I would like to have the opportunity to still allow our commercial guys to come into the facility and dump their trash so they don't end up being overloaded and having to store stuff on their property overnight. So that will take one person to be at the facility to allow them to come in and unload, compact it. That also keeps them out of the way the next day
For other folks.
So
You're gonna set some hours on that, so we're not.
yes, absolutely. It'll be like 4 hours.
Yeah.
It'll be four, whatever it takes them to do their entire road. It'll be Piper and Graham and Wakefield. That'll be a big advantage to us, so that they're not clogging up the stream,
Right.
the next day.
Let's try it.
Okay.
Okay,
And,
thank you.
yeah,
Thanks.
so as far as the public, we're closed July 4th.
And you'll post it in the news.
Yes.
How you doing? Sure.
You guys are not following your own protocols here.
How are you?
I beg to differ. We are 6 feet apart.
Alrighty then. Okay, what can I tell you? We have just finished our first week of curbside pickup service. We brought staff back on the 9th, and we have been accepting returns ever since then. We have taken in, I think about 1,500 items. We had over 2,000 out when we closed. So that's going well. We are quarantining everything that comes back for 7 days because no one really knows how long COVID lasts on any materials, whether plastic or cardboard or paper or tables or chairs. There is a huge national study going on between OCLC and IMLS, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, and a research foundation called Battelle, to study this very question. They are actually putting COVID on different surfaces and testing for its morbidity. So they issue a report, a progress report every week on Thursday, and there are no definitive answers yet. So we're erring on the side of caution. When we empty the book drop, we wear masks and gloves. We wear masks and gloves when we handle anything in the library before we check it out. Everything goes into a bag, which we label with the person's name and put it outside on a table that we wipe down every morning and every evening.
So we're not open for the public inside?
No, we are not. We are not ready for that yet. We don't have any sneeze guards yet. We're still waiting for some work to be done on the building. And we're still collecting the PPE that we're gonna need to be open. There is no library in New Hampshire that is open to the public now, not one. I don't know if any of you attended or took part in the NHMA webinar last week about reopening municipal buildings.
I
No.
did, yeah.
So then you heard that libraries are, I wrote it down because I went, yes. Libraries are the most complex municipal buildings to open. And it's because of the way people use libraries.
Sure.
You know, people don't come into the town office and touch everything and use the computers and go to the bathroom and. So we have a lot of issues to deal with before we're ready to open, and, you know, not the least of which is figuring out what our capacity is. Some libraries are thinking of letting like 10 people in at a time or something like that. Supposedly, you take your square footage and divide by 113 and subtract out your stack space. So I haven't done that math yet, but it's, you know, even with a much larger building, we're going to be having to limit the number of people who come in at one time, and probably limit the time on computers because, you know, exposure to people for more than 15 or 20 minutes.
I think your building will allow it. The entrance goes in one way and you exit another one.
Yes,
Yeah,
we've definitely discussed that. Yeah, that's a piece of it for sure. But we need to have sneeze barriers and stuff up, and we don't have that yet, or the PPE that we need. We will ask people to wear masks when they come in, but we can't force anybody to do that, unfortunately. And we will also offer people gloves, but, you know, there's no way we can follow people around and wipe down every book that they touch. So I think what we will do is probably just put bins at the end of stacks, and if people pull off something that they decide they don't want, they can put it in the bin, and we'll deal with either wiping it down or whatever. Another problem for us in the library is that the sanitizing products degrade plastic. So book covers, keyboards, mice. We're thinking of buying a supply of baggies and the press-on Glad wrap to put over keyboards and put the mice in a baggie so that, you know, we can just rip stuff off after every use and throw it out.
Like the windshields on race cars.
Yeah.
Peel off that layer.
Yeah. So we're still working on logistics, but we'll get there. And but it is still going to be limited use even when we get to saying people can come in. In the meantime, we're doing pretty good business. We've just been doing curbside pickup for 1 week. And in that 5 days, we've circulated 207 books, 20 magazines, 14 books on CD, and 20 movies. And compare that with an entire month of May for our online resources, and it was like 211 audios, 215 ebooks, and 37 movies and TV shows. So, you know, in a week, we're doing pretty much as well as we did over the month before. So definitely there's a lot of print-hungry people out there, and just people who like contact. We are trying to talk to people when they come, you know, keeping back and just touching base again, and people seem to really appreciate that. We've had a lot of excellent volunteer help over the last couple of months. The local garden group and Spiderweb have been busy planting. A lot of perennials and herbs from their own gardens have been dug up and replanted at the library. In the back, there's a whole hillside seeded with wildflowers that are beginning to come up now. And we moved Gary Southard's bench up to the top of that wildflower hill, and there's 3 blueberry bushes on either side of it and a couple of lilacs. I think it's really going to be pretty back there. Corey has been into mulch around our 2 new Christmas trees. We have a blue spruce and a balsam. Spiderweb donated the blue spruce, which was very generous of them. And what else? The septic, they're going to come pump the septic system today. When Sarah called me the other day and said, it's been 2 years. And I went, no, it hasn't, but it has. So that's...
Time flies, doesn't it?
You know, it's just amazing. So, yeah, that's happening today. I don't know if I've got anything else.
So looking at, we're not done, your general contractors and so on.
We're on the punch list, but there are still
One of
some,
the things on the punch list has to be compacted gravel around the perimeter of the paving. You can't just put mulch out there. And I noticed driving here this morning that, and I'm not sure if it's the whole parking lot, but at least that section by the fire pond, the pavement ends and, you know, it's not far up above the underlayment of gravel. And what'll happen is, especially with our aging clientele, people drive off the pavement. If they drive onto mulch, it isn't gonna help at all, but you'll start breaking that edge off. So they need to go around and have compacted gravel right up to the level of the paving. If you wanna mulch on top of that, that's fine, but we wanna make sure that your parking lot lasts.
I'll let the job supervisor know. What else? That's about it.
Great. Well,
Any questions?
okay, stay healthy.
Yeah, hope to.
So the staff is, accommodating the current situation pretty well?
Yes, everyone has, his or her own separate work area, his or her own phone, his or her own computer. And, you know, luckily, now that we have the space and the bathrooms, his or her own bathroom. So, you know, at least for the time, at least for the time being, we're good. You know, we will definitely have to make some additional accommodations when we start letting people in the building. And there have been, there are 2 weekly WebEx meetings for library directors, every week, Monday morning at 8 and Thursday morning at 10. And they're really very useful. It's really excellent to know what everybody else is doing and know that we're not alone. And most of the meeting last week was taken up with, who's going to clean the bathroom? And do you have to have a bathroom open to the public? And, you know, what happens after somebody uses it? Who's going to go in there, wipe it down, and blah, blah, blah. So it's that kind of, you know, granular level that we're getting to now. But it's a concern, you know. I think most people are keeping their bathrooms locked, and people need to ask for a key. And I don't know, some people say, well, if you're limiting the amount of time that people can be in the building, you just have to advertise them to, you know, go before you come. So I don't know, but that's sort of where we are. I wouldn't think that we're going to be letting people into the building for a while yet. We're sort of keeping up with the state criteria. 2-week drop in cases measured by the 14-day running average, which hasn't happened yet. Fewer than 4 new cases per 100,000 people every day, which hasn't happened yet. 150 tests performed per 100,000 people per day, and that hasn't happened yet. So, you know, we're keeping an eye on things and trying to just make sure that everybody stays safe as far as we can.
So one final question. The meeting room, when do you anticipate that it will be available?
I doubt very soon. Right now, we're using it to quarantine materials. We have 7 tables set up in there, 1 for every day of the week. And, you know, that's where we're quarantining. And they're still saying that groups of over 15 in confined spaces is dangerous right now. So I don't think we're going to be doing programs in there for a while. Sorry to say, but true.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Christie.
Travel safe.
I just wanted to ask too, if any of you guys have information that you would like to get out to the public, we would be happy to print off copies and stick them in people's bags when they check things out. Traffic is increasing every day, and, you know, it might be it's one way of getting information out to people.
Great.
Happy to.
Great idea.
We're having that
Yep.
police station meeting here coming up on the 6th.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
Be safe. Hi Dennis, how are you? Good morning. Thank you for waiting.
Chief, no big deal. Nice breeze coming in here, huh? I fell asleep over there. I'm gonna just start off by saying that you'll be happy to know we have some new shelves in the basement of town offices. I just gotta organize it now, but the shelves are up and ready to go.
That's step one, right? Yep.
Step one, yeah. I'll just start off too by talking to a father of some kids in Tuftonboro the other day. And he praised the swim team and the swim lessons and the lifeguards. And my question to him was, what are your kids doing this summer? And he just gave me a blank look and shook his head. And it just kind of got to me a little bit, you know, which spurred on a brainstorming meeting right here on June 11th. I thought June. Yeah. In which we had some parents and the commissioners, and we did brainstorm a little bit. I think we come up with some good alternatives for the summer. Of course, I ran it by my wife, and sometimes she gets very negative. And I said, the idea of brainstorming is whatever you say, we're putting up, and we had a whole board up there. And some of the things are crazy, some of the things will never happen, but I think some of the things are gonna happen. You'd be happy to know, of course, the first thing is we've got 4 concerts coming back.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes. And that the first 3 of them are local groups. The 23rd is the Wood Nichols Band. On the 30th of July, it's Brian Hastings and Sky Road.
Yep.
Yeah, and then on the 6th is Terry Collins, she's from Maine, and then we end up with Carolyn Ramsey on the 13th. So, you know, they all know that we're gonna social distance down there. We're not gonna have concession. You know, the commissioners will be around to make sure that they're not all ganged up. And the band's had concerns about it, but I think the good thing is we're coming back.
Can you make sure that the police chief is aware? So
Yeah, I talked to him already.
It worked out well last year.
Yeah, it did.
And the officer was needed.
Right. You know, some of the other ideas, we are gonna have a drive-in movie. We were trying to do that on the Friday of Old Home Days, but we lost that date, so right now we're negotiating with another date. Where we're gonna have it, I don't know. There's 3 spots that come in mind. Of course, the Davis Field. I looked at next to the fire department, and there's that natural incline of a hill behind that house, which might be a nice setting looking down in. And then, of course, the beach would be the other one. But it's pretty interesting. It's called Fun Flicks, and they come in. It's almost like a blow-up, you know, one of the moon bounce type things, but it's a huge screen. So we are gonna do that. We're negotiating price now. It was gonna be July 18th. We're having a family mini golf tournament. There's new owners of the Putters Village in Wolfboro. And we're gonna have the families sign up as groups, take the top 2 scores for each hole, and have a tournament and give out awards and stuff like that. But we're negotiating price. We're back and forth, and it would be good for them to certainly have a news release in the Granite News that they're hosting both Wolfboro and Tuftonboro.
And where is it?
It's at Putters Village over by, well, it's across from Harvest there in Wolfboro.
Next to the Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, that's good, yeah. So that's gonna happen. We're gonna advertise a cornhole league on Wednesday nights, 2-man teams. Doodle and Die is gonna do 2 classes. The dates are still shaky. One's for adults and one's for kids. That's gonna be held down at the pavilion. Yoga we're negotiating with. And there's a list of all other stuff. I won't get into it because I know you got a lot of time to do other things. But just quickly, we're dealing with the snowmobile group a little bit, trying to fix their paths. Talked to Caleb the other day, and he's really interested in mountain bike trails. So that's in the future. And our Lake Coast program is going good.
When are the Lake Coasts gonna start?
They've started 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were they out this weekend?
She was there yesterday. Yeah.
And do you have enough people?
Right now, I've only got one. I'm waiting for the other one to come through, but she hasn't come through yet. So right now, it's just a one.
and she's good. She was there last year, Lizzie Fogg. And she actually got the talent for the best actress in the state from Kingswood. So she's not afraid to approach people, and she knows how to handle it. She's really good. So in high school, I made the varsity baseball team as a freshman. Great defensive player. I couldn't hit for crap. I couldn't hit. So the point I'm trying to make is we've had some curveballs. We've all had curveballs with this pandemic. And certainly Parks and Rec has had curveballs. And one big curveball is, of course, last week, 2 of the 3 lifeguards quit because of the pandemic. So the 3rd lifeguard, we put on 15 hours a week doing maintenance in the morning, raking, cleaning the bathrooms. The new grills we put up, they're being used, cleaning them. So that's the big curveball. Signs are up, swim at your own risk, so you got your wish on that, Chip, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. And we're just gonna have to monitor it a little bit, I think. You know, the one thing I worry about is groups coming in with coolers and all that stuff. And the beach, number 1, I think is looking good. I gotta thank Lloyd, number 1, for helping Zach Tufts take down the bushes along the shore. And also, he was there the other day when we were raking the beach and getting all the driftwood and the seaweed, and loaned his trailer, and we filled up his trailer. So, Lloyd, thank you for that. But I think they straightened out the flagpole. I think the beach looks great with the wall, the sand. It's open now with the bushes cut. The grills look good. Like I say, they're being used. He hasn't mowed. It's growing like crazy because they put that stuff on the ground to make the grass grow. And the grass is about this high right now. But I question him on that.
Even some sheep.
Yeah. He don't want to mow because they put that stuff down. So he's going to mow it probably today or tomorrow. But down in Melbourne, we did get some new sand, half a load down there. We did do the swim lines down at 20 Mile Bay with the 2 gentlemen, the 2 doctors that were here last meeting, and we did have a couple parents volunteer with boats and stuff, so that went good. The benches are out, and I know there's 20 benches on the course next to the fire department. There's a dozen down at 19 Mile, and then certainly at Melbourne, but they're in need of some work, some of them. So any carpenters out there that want to help out, we'd like to try and get those benches fixed. Some of them actually have the seats like right off, but there's some rickety ones, and we got to look at some of them. So anyway, what else we got? Just coming up, October 3rd is our town-wide yard sale, National Night Out, which is with the police and the fire. That's been moved to October 6th. Just some of the other things we're looking at, Olympic days, whether it be Land Olympics, Water Olympics, Crazy Olympics. We're trying to move a bike rodeo at some point this summer because it was canceled during the school year. We're trying to bring back that program Saturday in the Park that got canceled because of pandemic. We've looked into some of the national contests, the punt, pass, and kick, pitch, hit, and run, all those national contests. We don't know if they're being run around here. I'm trying to work out details to have a mini basketball camp actually outside at our court, and just have 2 sessions of 12 kids, 6 on one side, 6 on the other for 2 hours, take a break, come back with an older age group. Again, 12 kids, so that'd be 24 kids. Just some of the other things we brought up during this brainstorming, the lip sync, karaoke for kids, the zoo animals, the romper room, which is kind of just a little play area for younger kids. And just they questioned a couple things. Why don't we have a walking club in the morning? And my own question was, we've got that beautiful garden next to our town offices. Why did we never have a farmer's market? So.
Well, those are.
And I'm not sure. Yeah, no, I understand.
It's kind of, they'd have to organize the farmers markets themselves, and we just.
I know they've
Is
talked
there a
about it.
lottery, I think?
I know they've talked about it, but this year there was getting some other things in place to recycle, got wood chips in, stuff like that. So the meetings that I've attended are like your meetings. There's a lot of brainstorming going on, really, stuff like that, so, yeah. I know it's.
So that's it, that's my report. Questions?
We had that employee issue that we need to
Yes.
talk about.
You wanna speak on this?
I think he did already. This is the lifeguard that you wanna have.
Yeah, she's gonna do maintenance.
She's gonna do maintenance instead.
Yeah, and I felt bad, she notified me that, one of them I knew, she said she has issues with family members and she just didn't feel safe. The other one I heard through this lifeguard saying, I heard both lifeguards quit. So I called the other one and she, certainly did. This one still needed a job, so we got 15 hours. She ended up picking babysitting job. And then she, is working at a DI place down in Wolfboro, so she's fine. And she's gonna leave, she's going to UConn, I think August 14th, so she's gonna spread those 15 hours over the 7 days, and I said, you won't see me. I said, but if I come there in the morning, I said, the beach better be raked, there better not be any trash, you know, the grills better be clean. I don't expect you to clean the portalettes, but make sure it's, you know, respectable, so.
So we're looking at a job change and hence a salary change, and I think that's the question we had.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would, yeah, she would, in fact, I just got, time sheets for it today, and Diane didn't know, you know, what to put it down as, and I just said, you know, it's basically, it's kind of maintenance, you know,
What did you put on your sheet?
general maintenance.
And what pay?
She goes 11.50.
Okay.
Yeah, from 11.25 to 11.50.
Is there,
Well, I'll make a motion, we sign that.
I'll second.
all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
I had, I had one question.
Yes.
It's come to my attention that there's wires and some alterations made to the Melvin dock.
Correct.
Did you work with Jim Bean, who's in charge of docks and bridges? Is it safe and appropriate?
Yeah, again, I think on those moorings, and, you know, I was there 2 days ago, they built new ones, because it looks like brand new 2x4s on the outside. They build a ladder going up. Of course, to get out there, they climb up, stand on the mooring, and dive off. But there is one wire, which I talked to Jim Bean about, that I'm a little concerned about. That if they ever fell or came that way, that would put a good slash into them, so I'll follow up with Jim on it. He's been great with the sand and
I know he's working with you on signs,
and the sign.
no parking signs.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Should I give this to Dennis, and you wanna drop this off at,
I'll go back.
yeah. One question that I have, did we get up the social distancing signs down at the beach?
Yeah, they're all up.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
there's some nice, they're really nice. Take a look, they're nice.
Yep, all right, super,
Thank you.
Travel safe, my friend.
thanks.
Chief Thompson. Good morning, sir. How are you?
People seem like they were social distancing when I drove by the beach.
who's blowing on the horn? Horn? Solved another.
So we've had 90 fire calls, 114 EMS calls, 22 service calls, 7 special details for a total of 223. 20 gas furnace inspections, 3 oil burner inspections, 3 wood pellet stove inspections, and 9 life safety for a total of 35. Department has resumed its weekly meetings, and we're following all state and CDC guidelines as we do that as far as social distancing as much as possible. Departments remain busy on calls this year. As requested by the Selectmen, we have turned in updates as the calls have come in on anything that's fairly serious, so that you have information on that.
Thanks.
This weekend alone, we had 4 boat calls on various islands. The department's ambulance transported 2 patients between Friday, June 19th and June 21st. Engine 4 had a power steering box failure during a dry hydrant training on the June 4th. Power steering box was replaced with a remanufactured box and a new sector shaft by Lake Region Fire Apparatus out of Tama. And the cost for that was $2,288.48. Car 1 had its complete parking brake, rear parking brake replaced. That was $623.99, and that was done by Northern Tire and Alignment. The furnaces at Central Station continue to be an issue, and we've had Brookside Plumbing working on that. We're in the process of trying to obtain 3 quotes for possibly replacing them next year. I feel that we've put so much money into those particular units that we could put new ones in for the price that we continue to work on them if we can't get them straightened out. The hose testing for the department, 16,000 feet of hose, will be completed on June 24th by Failsafe Hose and Ladder Testing Company. The ladders are going to be tested the same day, and the department's going to be working with them to get the apparatus and all the hose to the station to complete that. They did a very nice job last year completing that.
So that's just at the Central Station, you're not doing, is there hose at Melvin?
Everything is moved. They do everything at Central Station. All the apparatus, all the hose is brought to that one location.
Or you have a water source there to test.
Yep. They require an area that's about 350 feet in length and a water source. They bring their machine in that's in a trailer and do everything there. It's unbelievable as far as, they repack the hose and everything as far as that goes. We just need to be able to get everything there, work with them to get everything that they need. As far as the COVID-19 stipend reimbursement, we have turned that paperwork in, still waiting for that reimbursement to come. For the fire side, it was $6,450. I believe the police side has come, as far as that goes. We also put a reimbursement in as far as the equipment from the Gopher Fund for $2,880.08, and still waiting to hear from that. And as you probably know, that Camp Sentinel, we completed the inspection for that camp, and there's a new camp that is looking to open this summer. And there's a question of whether or not they'll be opening for overnight, but they'll definitely be opening as far as for day camp. There was still some challenges that they had to meet for the overnight camp. Do you have anything pending or any questions?
No, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Short and sweet.
You have a wonderful day.
Have a safe day. Chief? Good morning, how are you? Good morning. Thank you.
So people are driving around again.
People are definitely driving around again.
Yeah.
You can see our motor vehicle stops and summonses are up.
Felonies have doubled.
Yes, they have.
What are we attributing that to? crime spree.
Yeah, like, that domestic violence was a felony level. It involved a weapon.
That just for this month?
No, that's year to date.
Year-to-date.
Or you had the burglary, didn't you? Of firearms, a lot of cars, stuff?
This is,
Is it what?
does this include multiple charges for the same event?
You can, yes.
Okay, okay. So it's not that we've had twice as many felony events, but we've got twice.
Right, the incidents are pretty much the same, it's just we've had more of them being felonies, if you will. You know, arrests are up slightly, not much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So incidents include what of the, that includes offenses, felonies, and arrests?
Incidents includes both criminal and non-criminal events.
Okay,
So it could be lost property, that counts as an incident. Found property would be an incident, so we have to track that property number. So it's both, it's criminal and non-criminal is incidents. It's just combined, it's how many essentially offense numbers we drew.
mm-hmm.
Well, offense numbers, that's how they're generated in the reports section. There's a section for incidents where you write reports that end with an OF, but there may not be a crime attached to them. It could be lost and found, it could be missing person, it could be any number of things. That could be a dispute between neighbors, could be, for example, a domestic where it's only an argument, no physical, no threats, just people just aren't getting along that day. Won't necessarily involve a crime per se.
So does the incident category on here include any of the other categories?
Yes, because that would be, offenses would be part of that, if you will. And felonies are, so if you take the offenses, it's 53 offenses, 16 of them are felonies, whereas last year it was 48 offenses, 8 of them felonies.
I see, okay.
But you could have an incident that has more than one offense.
Yeah.
Right.
So DWI operating without license.
There's 2 offenses for one incident. That would show up, that probably would be an arrest though, without having an incident report per se. Sometimes the arrests, you know, the 7 arrests, they're not all gonna generate an offense report. Some of them will be direct arrests. Because we arrested that person on site. If we have to do a case, investigate it, get a warrant,
In your presence.
then it becomes, then it would be an offense which leads to the arrest. I think that's how those break down.
Any other questions on the incident sheet?
Everybody's healthy and happy?
So far,
Anything else?
well, we've been working on, I did a couple things. One is we're dealing with some parking issues, Union Wharf Road, down by the fence down there. So as we did the ordinance, if you will, one of the things we didn't do is we never put it to town meeting, because some of them were to supersede town ordinances that are voted at town meeting. So there's some conflicts there. There's some parts that, in other words, if the town meeting, the legislative body says no overnight parking somewhere, then the only way to change that is to go back to the town meeting. So if there's a conflict in some of these, we have to kind of weigh that out. One of the things that came up though is the old ordinance for Union Wharf area talked about no parking on the side of Union Wharf Road. When we wrote up the parking part, there's no reference to that thing. We did run into somebody parking a truck with a trailer, the trailer sticking out down by the end of Union Wharf Road. The other thing we're running into is parking along the fence by what was John Sims' house. we've allowed, essentially, walking disability tagged vehicles to park there overnight or, over the 2 hours. There's been, other than that, it's supposed to be 2 hours. Well, we've had some people that have wanted to go out and then they claim, well, the other people park there. So we're trying to address that through.
So if you start ticketing them, sooner or later, people are gonna,
We've been putting warning stickers on. One of the problems is the ordinance for that area talks about warnings versus what we put in our ordinance.
so you're talking about the current ordinance as opposed to what was passed at town meeting 20 years ago.
Right.
Right.
There's a conflict between the two,
Okay,
and both,
and so that causes a dilemma for you in terms of enforcing the,
if there's a conflict between them, there is, because town meeting can restrict what the rest of the town can do, it's a legislative body. We should have had this go to town meeting, that was the opinion of Rick Singh.
so, and we didn't because on advice of council, because this body has the authority to regulate the roads.
He actually
do it with
gave advice that it should go to town meeting.
We can't do it by executive fiat.
No, the town meeting has the right to limit the board of selectmen.
But just to mitigate the conflicts. We can't have conflicting regulations unmitigated until next March. It ain't happening. I mean, there must be a device for us to say, okay, from now until next town meeting, this is how we're gonna solve this dilemma.
It's possible that you could say reenact it, if you will. I don't know how to do that, but I know. But there's small parts that conflict, that's all.
There are any number of people in town that would love to take us to task over abuse of authority, but I think at the end of the day, what we need to do is resolve the conflict.
Yeah, we've been working with it as educational, and we've been putting the warning stickers on, that's how we typically do it, and they're bright orange so people see.
Right.
Oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't be doing it either, so that's how we've been dealing with it, and we've always dealt with it that way, but we're having, with the store being open and nobody parking there, now there's more pressure on some of those spots. And that's why I think somebody parked along the end of the road with their trailer sticking out, which we dealt with. And we're working on it, but one of the things we did not put in the new ordinance, if you will, was about parking along Union Wharf Road.
There's no parking at the store,
For store,
the 19 Mile Bay store.
they put up new signs, all parking for the store, in the store parking lot.
which is the way it has traditionally been, but since the store
When
has
it was
been
closed the last 2 years, everybody was using it.
Right.
They're not allowing any parking for any other reason?
It's the same as traditional.
Yeah.
The front spots closer to the road are for use of store
Yeah.
customers. Right.
And it was that way when the store was open
Right.
before.
Yeah.
But the last 2 years where it was closed, everybody was using it and just scooting across to use the docks and stuff. And now that they're back to opening it, people are now trying to find other places nearby, if you will, I think.
Could I make the following suggestion?
Yeah.
First of all, I've worked in your shoes for 37 years, so I understand what you're saying, and you're well-spoken. Would you please research this and come up with
I will.
what the solution is?
Is there signage down there?
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I mean, can't they park up there at the 19 Mile Bay parking area?
They can. There's plenty of space there.
Is there signage directing them to do that?
Probably not directing them to park there, per se. I suppose we can put a sign up. I think they know of it. I mean, these aren't.
No, people don't like to park up there because you gotta walk across the bridge,
docks.
right? So, yeah.
It was easier to park across the street and walk across the last couple of years.
Right.
That's, the issue along the fence has become one of, and where it comes in sometimes is, it's workers doing, tradesmen maybe out on the island. They don't wanna park their vehicles walk down the road, but technically we have like a 2-hour limit there, cause it's supposed to be for quick use only.
Right.
Keep those open. Anyway, we've been dealing with that. obviously I put a thing out to the, officers about the lack of lifeguards to keep an eye on the beaches and check them. Obviously,
I know last summer we had some issues with, people using beaches, and alcoholic beverages and that sort of thing. So you guys are kind of incorporating that into your drive-bys.
we'll try and check on that too.
Yep.
I'll get back to what I was saying.
Okay.
Is there are a number of areas in town that are like the bays of funding. For example, the parking, the boat launch down on Mirror Lake. It's a lot safer than ever it was before. You looked at the sign, your guys have resolved issues. It always falls on you or your officers. Anything that you have as suggestions, okay? For example, you and I've talked about it, as long as they're off the pavement, on Route 109, they can park there. Well, guy fell asleep, almost killed a kid. And you come from Alton where, you know, people climb the mountain there and parked on the state highway, so it's not your first rodeo. I think you've done yeoman work so far, so anything you'd like to see us improve on or go to town meeting on, please reduce it.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
As far as other updates, the cruiser's in. As far as the vehicle, I've started working on getting prices for the equipping it. Some of the prices are higher than I thought they would be. Like the radio is like really high. Like blew me away, because apparently Motorola canceled the one that we typically use. So if we go with Motorola, it's going to be, if we go with a cheaper brand, it'll be longer to get here. It could be a couple months before we even have that up and equipped, at least. They're talking like 8 weeks. I am looking at, I've got one price for upfitting it. I'm going to get, because it came out over 10,000, I know I need to get some more bids on upfitting it. So I'm going to work on that, but I've already started ordering some of the stuff to come now that I've definitely got the vehicles, so I know, you know, what will go and what will fit, and so we're started ordering some of that. Let's see, what else is going on?
On vehicles,
Yeah,
I know you've already undercooked 2 vehicles in 8 years.
I did all 4 of them last year.
The other thing is Jack undercoated, it's a new vehicle. He had a place.
Oh, the special.
Like that?
Yeah.
So I'd be willing to find the money someplace for that.
Yeah, I'll look at that. I forgot about how they did a different type of coating when it was
It's
brand
called
new.
wax treatment or
Yeah.
something, and that's my editorial.
Yeah, I'll check with Jack on, thank you for bringing that up. I'll check with him. Let's see. Obviously, training has been kind of curtailed, given that there's no meetings at the academy or anything. We have, and obviously I'm watching, in fact, 1 o'clock, there's a call, the meeting for the Governor's Commission. I'll be calling into that to hear what they're discussing about training, and other issues revolving around law enforcement. And obviously, the bill just passed the Senate last week, took some of the House stuff, and there's also nationally some stuff being done, so I gotta look at that, make sure our policies are up to date, and that, you know, one of the things that, the executive order from the president said is you have to have some sort of independent certification of your agency to qualify for federal grants. Not that we get a whole lot of federal grants that fall under that, but like the burn or JAG grants, we don't typically get those. Be looking at what we need to do to get ourselves to that level. We work towards it, but we've kind of held off because it can be pretty expensive if it's just clear. If there's other options, one of the things I suggested is that the state look at doing accreditation again at the state level. Because doing the national accreditation, it can cost over $10,000 just to have your review. And you have to do that every 3 years, so.
Is that COLIA?
CALIA, yeah, CALIA is the national one that's probably best known. Some states do have a state program. We had one here for a while, but it used CALIA standards, and CALIA said, no, that's kind of competing with us. Proprietary information, so you can't use that.
I know,
So you changed one word, right?
I know what one department did is joined that organization and just went chapter by chapter every year, so.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not legal now, I don't know.
You have to be committed to the program within so many years being when you sign up with CALIA now. The good thing, we do have Power DMS, a software program that we use, cloud-based, that ties in with the CALIA standards. That's like an upgrade, but it helps track it and can show the proofs and everything you have to do. But it's time consuming, et cetera. But I'm looking at what we need to do to make sure we're up to standards. Just to be clear, I don't know that New Hampshire's ever taught choke holds or neck holds or any of those types of moves. It's never been a thing that I've heard of taught at the academy from everybody I've talked to along the way. That's not something we've taught here, so.
Well, that's good, although it I guess bears highlighting and recognizing that with all the cop shows on TV out there,
Getting canceled.
huh? No, I mean, even if it isn't taught at the police academy, some
Well, I don't know that that's really,
individuals might get the idea that, oh yeah, this is where we're going.
I don't know that that's the answer anyway, because it doesn't address the issue politically, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, whether or not you're trained to do a chokehold doesn't preclude us or keep us from having to make some judgment as to whether or not it's an appropriate thing to do. I mean, the civilians have to make the election to direct you not to do something, even if you're not trained in it. I mean, I think that's not going to go away without, and I think the governor should do something. I think the
Well, that's what this commission is looking at, but the Senate last week, because the House basically shut down, they had to have the Senate bills in New Hampshire. They had to adopt different things. I know they banned, I believe they put a thing in about chokeholds in one of the bills. So they just kind of took non-germane and wrapped it into other bills. So you have this bill that was about this now being, because they took some of the House stuff that they wanted. But I believe that was passed the Senate, and I know that the governor said he'd sign it. So I'm sure that's coming. And one of the things that came up in within the chief's discussion was the fact that while we don't teach it, nobody has taught it here, there is a process for out-of-state officers to become certified in New Hampshire. And they only have to come and take the law package. They don't necessarily have to go through the whole academy, including all the other things that we do or don't teach. So they may have been taught it in another agency, and they just come here and they just get a law package, learning the motor vehicle code, criminal code, New Hampshire Constitution, and they're on their way. But that was their training may have involved that in another state. We don't have that issue here in town, but that's something that was brought up that we need to consider, and that's, I'm sure, going to be brought up at the academy. Something I mentioned to the president for him to bring up at the commission meeting when it's appropriate. And the academy is a part of that commission. So,
Anything else from the board?
just if I could ask you to reduce to writing one page, what you see as the parking conflict and
Yep.
what you see as the remedy.
okay.
And just so we've got some language going forward that we can present to the town. And do we want to have a say in this radio thing? I mean, do we want to talk about money with the chief? I don't know what the benefit of buying something cheap is over buying something that's reliable, other than it's reliable.
I'll stick my nose in it. I think that our fire and police and EMS need the top line of all the equipment. Their lives are out there. We need the top-notch radios. There are dead spots.
But I think what the chief's telling us is that he's working on the budget end, maybe not on the same page as you.
I'm not in favor of going through a cheap radio just because,
So I'm basically looking at about all equipped. Well, I have the money for the computer in my regular operating budget anyways, that's where I'm working on the grant
So let's
stuff.
just talk about, let's
About 3,000 over
focus on the radio. What's the difference in price
Yeah.
between the generic and the one you've always used?
That's not generic, but yeah.
Well, the
That's a price one.
The different brand and the Motorola's that you've traditionally used.
The Motorola's, I was given a quote of 5,700,
Yep.
and the Kenwood was 2,300. Now I'm working with another vendor to see what are the prices and they can come up with.
does the new Motorola have the same operating features that the current radio has? What I'm concerned with is, and I got this from fire services, when you have a guy jump in, no matter what piece of equipment, does the radio work the same?
Yeah,
The button-
so it's very similar, it's the same control head, it's a little bit different, it's just frustrating because they discontinued one that was very similar to what we had, which was cheaper. Now they offer this other one, which can do bands that we're never gonna use, 700, 800, but they give you a credit for not signing into them. It just, they got a
So
good
how much,
product and they've cornered the market.
what's the difference in money?
About $2,400. It all adds up though, so I'm about 3,000 over the 60,000.
And the credit for the unused bands is nominal, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, if we had those in there, you'd be talking more than 5,000, I'm sure. So I don't know, yeah.
I take the point of view that the legislative body, with very little debate, supported you 100%, said buy it.
Well, I do have some money in my operating budget right now, because we've been doing pretty good with overtime. And obviously, Administrative Assistant Kinderman hasn't been at work, and in fact has told me she was gonna give me something in writing, I haven't got it, that she's
That was
not
my
coming
next
back
question.
to work.
Ever,
Huh? Ever, yeah, she told me Friday she's decided not to come back to work. And it was a variety of different things,
Well, that's her.
that was her
Yeah.
personal things. But, and it wasn't just COVID, it was some other stuff that she felt was better for her health, basically,
So you've got capital enough, I mean, I think I'd like to recommend we get. And if
so
we,
all the other equipment you have is Motorola, is that right?
I have another brand which I don't care for. Not Kenwood, but it's another brand that was a lot cheaper at the time.
with the current,
All the other cruisers have Motorola's.
okay,
Right.
We've been replacing them with Motorola's. We had at one point all Motorola's because they were given to us through a grant. And then they don't make parts for those anymore, so I've been buying new radios as we're getting replacing cars. And we've been going with Motorola's, except for my truck has I can't think of it, Icon or somebody like that. It's not bad, but they've hit or miss on their stuff. We had Kenwoods before and they were good.
Yeah, we had Kenwoods in the fire
Yeah,
department.
they were good. They weren't, Kenwood wasn't a bad radio. They're gonna take longer to get from what I've been told. But I'm also talking to another vendor to see what else is going.
Well, you also
being
can
offered.
service them in New Hampshire, where they haven't sent them out.
So, yeah, that's what I'm looking at is, that was one that blew me away. And the light bar was a lot more expensive than I expected. Only because I wanted to have it, I don't know if our light bars now are analog control where they, depending on where your switch position is, they flash, right, and a lot. And sometimes at night, they can blind people coming on. I don't know if you've noticed, the state police have them when they're like stopped on the side of the road, they just glow blue with a little blink.
Yep.
Much easier on the eyes of oncoming traffic, it's much safer.
The old strobe years ago used to have a switch that this were a light blue and didn't blink.
Yeah, so to do that though, they're more expensive, they're more expensive light bar to do that, because it's computer controlled, not analog controlled.
And the price
I think that was 3,700 plus programming
versus,
versus about 2,500, 3,000. So it's all a few little things adding up to a little more than what I'd expected, but anyway, we're getting, I'll get, and I have to say that's through one vendor, I have to get another price from somebody else, obviously, because it's over the 10,000.
Right.
I agree with you, Chip, make it happen.
Yeah, and I don't see any benefit of not having consistency in equipment.
Right, it's called ergonomics.
Well, definitely, that's what I've tried to do with all of them, is have some consistency, so you can almost get into every vehicle and
Right.
know exactly where everything is.
So, my feeling is if we get to the limit on what's in the article, then we'll work together to find the dollars to cover the difference.
And I believe there's some,
Some of
because
it might come out of your budget, some of it may not.
yeah,
I mean, it's great you got money in overtime. I don't want you to say, we're gonna use the overtime budget. Here we are in the middle of the year to
Yeah.
pay for this,
No.
because it's there to.
but also we have.
Provide for operation leave.
Kinnaman's salary.
Yep,
I paid.
well, and that's fine, but, we can, work through the process within the total budget of the town to make sure that we can get it done adequately. And, so it sounds like, back to the other subject, that Vicky is retiring or resigning, right? So we'll need to put together an ad, to go in the newspaper.
Yep.
So if you can work on verbiage for that, get it to Karen. I think we're talking
We're
about
doing the same
advertising
thing
for
in other departments.
other positions, get it all in there together.
And commingle those.
Okay.
Yep.
Dennis will be speaking to you about concerts.
Yes, I knew there's 4, I saw it, and
I know it worked out well last year, I think, like you had an officer there, that was a good.
so we'll work on that. And that was part of why we have extra in the overtime.
Yep.
To help cover that
Yep.
stuff, but obviously 2 of them got canceled, so it's.
Right.
There's something else. The grant, we had a call like a week ago on the grant, a week and a half ago, on the grants
For the facility.
for the facilities.
Right.
And I've been working with two things there. One, I've got most of that done. I still have to do the 424C form, but I'm working on that. And then I've got, I've also been working with Senator Shaheen's office to try and straighten out our SAM registration information. That's a work in progress.
Going to look like a miracle.
No, they've been, they've been great, and they put me in touch with somebody in Washington DC who's kind of the congressional liaison for that thing, that entity, but it's been, they did reach out to me finally, that group got back to me Friday, I think it was.
And did the lady from USDA come up with the other grant source?
She did, I contacted them and they said it does not necessarily fit our project, doesn't fit our project.
I think you put some paperwork in here and,
I sent an email.
Yep.
Yeah,
it didn't look like it fit, and I made a phone call and said, you know what, it probably.
yeah,
But thank you for your research and following up with her.
so.
Anything else? Oh, you have a safe day.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Do we need to take a break?
I need to stand up.
Go ahead,
If
sir.
you don't mind.
I'll walk this way.
Yep.
You all set? Set. Time to move on for signatures. This is a letter to Tom Young, thanking him for serving on the Tufton Borough Budget Committee, commenting that, you know, the efforts he puts for the community are appreciated, and we thank you. Thank him for his service to the town.
I'll move approval.
A second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's my understanding, Karen, that he is willing to fill a vacancy on the CIP, correct?
Right, he's gonna continue, yeah, he's gonna continue there, he just wants to be the budget committee rep.
And have we signed his,
I believe
he has to be
it's,
appointed as a citizen, right?
that's correct.
Has that paperwork been
I
completed?
believe he's been at the last meeting.
Okay. Next item is from Sega, with a copy to you about Great Meadow. This is the warranty deed conveying conservation,
It's
to the
the
town.
it's the easement,
Yes.
right? So I'll move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Aye. Chip, you're number one on the.
Am I again?
Yeah, there's two signatures, I think.
Fingers.
You were chair when all this started.
They just can't hold me back. Okay.
Right,
Always
exactly.
percolating up to the top.
Yeah, okay, you percolate, okay. Mr. Coffey. The companion document is the Great Meadow. It's the baseline documentation report for lot 31-01-02, 31-01-01. That's the Great Meadow properties, right? Yes. Is there a motion?
And that requires a signature?
Yes.
So move.
I'll second.
It requires the signatures of the landowner and the easement grantee.
Yep, so this is for you to sign as the chairman.
And that would be easement grantee, correct?
The landholder.
What?
Landowner,
Landowner, okay.
Grantee is the conservation.
or whoever holds conservation
Let
easement,
me
yeah.
ask my legal here. And today is the 22nd?
Yep.
Did we vote? I think we voted. Did we vote?
Okay, did we vote? Is there a motion?
There was a motion, I seconded it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Oh, it does require 3 signatures.
Yes.
Okay. As far as I'm concerned, you can keep going with this stuff while we're signing.
Okay. I have 2 packages of abatement applications, one pile to approve and one pile to deny. Is it okay if I read into the record the ones to approve? And we just make one motion?
Yeah.
I would suggest a motion for each. A motion on the denials separate from a motion for the approval.
Yeah, there's 2
Yes.
separate motions, but I package them together.
Yeah.
Okay, under one, I'd like one motion to approve the abatement applications for 38-1-266, 38-1-51, 2-1-66, lot 25-1-43, Lot 11-1-54, Lot 25-1-24, Lot 25-2-88, 188, that's 25-188, Lot 38-1-51, Lot 25-1-11, Lot 25-2-84, and Lot 27-2-16. Is there a motion?
So move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And while you're, can I go to the second one?
Yep.
This is to make one motion and move to deny the abatement applications for Lot 11-1-55, 2-1-66, Lot 37-1-11, Lot 25-2-163, Lot 38-1-236, and finally, Lot 25-1-23.
So move.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do you want me to wait till they're done or go on with correspondence?
Oh, we can listen to you all.
Yep.
Correspondence from Jane Farini, subject New Hampshire school funding. Please sign up for the stakeholders group. If not, former donor town concerns will not be considered by the commission to study school funding. Anyone wish to represent the town?
Are they reforming the group?
Yes. So established last fall by the general court to begin its work.
No, not the general court.
Okay.
The taxpayers
Yes,
association.
I'll pass it down to.
I'll come get it.
Why don't you review that, and if you want to speak on it at some point, just speak up.
Okay.
Our next correspondence is what Chief Shigori mentioned, reference Gene Shaheen and the SAM account. Thank you. This is Heather Malone to Phil Bennett, reference state architect's review process for that's our police station, right?
Yes.
Okay. Next is Andy Shigori to the selectmen about the EDA grant that he talked about. That it doesn't really meet our requirements, but thank you for.
Yeah.
I think there is more grant opportunities between now and the end of the year, so we didn't qualify for one, but that doesn't mean we're not gonna qualify for.
Yeah,
I know he has things on his radar.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is from Government Affairs, and it's room and meals tax distribution. Just telling us that it's coming.
And my understanding is that we are gonna get the budgeted amount of rooms and meals tax regardless of what's being collected this year,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Because I know there was some, conversation among the towns about, well, you know, collections are off, so it may affect
I think that
us.
we're gonna get the same percentage, but are we gonna get the same amount of money?
If I remember correctly, that's what it says, is it's that the,
7 point something %.
yep, I'm sorry, the same level of tax distribution in fiscal year 2021 that they received last December. So maybe what you're saying is right, that it's just the same percentage, it's not gonna, which makes sense, all right, so.
Not like Bridge 80 that they're doing away with it.
Right.
Next item is, 20-mile bay swim lines and the paperwork from April 71, when, Bill Hodges was a selectman. Can I have a copy of, that paperwork at your convenience? It's already working, keeping the boats out, the people are swimming.
I do folks in agreement with Steve, maybe that's not the right one. Is that the one with Steve Wingate? I was asking if he can work with Howard Shane, regarding it. Is that the thing?
Yes, it says, I'm on good terms with Howard Shane, I'd be glad to discuss this with him. I think it's a good policy to check with the stakeholders.
Is that fine with the selectmen?
What's that?
To have Steve Wingate work on this.
Sure.
Okay. Document shredding. I guess,
I think it's time to get it on the schedule.
And do we want to open it up to anybody from the public who wants to pay them to get rid of things? Or is it just town?
In my opinion, that then becomes it's not just a matter of people showing up with stuff, right? They're gonna send us an invoice for whatever the cost is of all the stuff that we turn in. So, if we wanna have somebody that determines if you or I as not part of the government want to turn stuff in and how much that's gonna cost and collect the money for it, then, I suppose, but it becomes much more complicated to deal with.
I asked Clay at one point last year, would he consider like solid waste? You know, there's a couple times during the summer where he works on a project like that, with the understanding that if the truck was up there and someone comes in, owes $5, it's not the town taking it, it's the vendor taking it. He said he would look into it.
Well, from what I know of the way the vendor is set up, he's gonna contract with the town to do the work, and he's gonna bill the town for the work. And I suspect, and they're not set up to handle cash coming in. This is, it's an ongoing business operation, so.
Sure. Okay. But as far as the stuff that's ready to go in the town office, and we can make it available to any other town department.
Well, sure. All the stuff that the town needs to get shredded, we need to get pulled together. And I know there was some stuff that was in question as to whether it was known or not, Karen.
I think,
We need to kind of nail those down. So if we can schedule something, an appropriate amount of time in the future that get some people back in here, get it organized, and we'll get her out of here.
Our next item is sent to Diane. This is from Matthew Ramsey. He's searching for one big room or two rooms in our town hall, city hall, or other building to train U.S. Census enumerators on how to conduct the 2020 census. He gives the dates as in August, and we are training trainees in a small group of 6 with one trainer to do the administrative work and receive their devices. We hope you can help us. If there's anything we want to make this building available for.
As far as I'm concerned, that's fine, yeah, as long as it doesn't conflict with the.
Group of 6. Yeah, as long as it's on Monday morning.
Right.
Karen, could you work on that too? Thank you. Dan Barnard, reference, deadline for all articles to Tufton Borough Times is Friday, July 17th. This will be the most challenging issue they've ever assembled. Anybody interested in writing that up?
Is it my turn again?
Yes, it may be. It may be.
All right,
So,
I'll take that on.
yep.
Okay, you do a nice job.
And I know Clay mentioned putting an article in the Times about Island Day, but of course it's moot at that point because that's the day they're collecting the trash and it won't be out until another week later. But
Right. This is from the Governor's Office, Emergency Relief and Recovery. Gopher, it's just the, details for broadband expansion program. Does that pique your curiosity on anything?
Yeah, I think I actually have a copy of that through the other, group, the Carroll County Coalition.
And you got
Send
the
it on,
copy,
yeah.
did you get the next thing from Rick, Highland, reference broadband news and
Right.
whatever? Were
They
the signs,
applied for,
were the signs effective,
yeah, the problem with the, vote was it wasn't 66 and
2/3?
They needed a 2/3 majority to change the bylaws. They got 64%. So they're going about it in a different way, but the election actually helped because it cleaned out some of the
Yes.
more,
the old guard.
yeah, coal-oriented folks and put in some more progressive folks that are, but the number of cooperatives that are involved in high-speed internet right now is in the hundreds around the country, so it's not like you have to invent something.
Oh, yeah, my co-op out in Indiana's been involved with internet for easily 10 years, maybe longer, yeah.
And along that line, you probably got a copy that, the next, training session is in kickoff with Alex Kelly is for Center of Rural Innovations is Thursday, June 25th at 10.
Right, that's just,
You have that copy?
Are
yeah.
you do you want to do that? Okay, I think I have to register.
Do you have to do this for it?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. Okay.
yeah.
Next is, from Melissa Latham, update on community development, the Block Grant CARES Act funding, paperwork.
Yep.
Anything catch your attention there? You initialed it. Okay. Next, from Gordon Hunt is, Gordon responded, mentioned that he was a third-place candidate, had no problem with it. I think, however, the selectmen should let people know the seat is open, if for nothing other than transparency, and we took care of that at the last meeting, and the ad will be in the paper, right? Right. This is from Andy Shigori. The subject is rush to disinfect offices as some environmental health experts worried. And it's from Bloomberg, self-explanatory. This is from Maxim Ledoux. Wanted someone to explain to him the statutory authority about wearing masks. Okay.
And did we address that?
No.
No. So, but I think you have the information on our statutory authority to control access to town buildings. Right, so I think that's,
Sure.
just send it back to them, say, this is the authority under which the selectmen act
Yeah,
with respect to town buildings.
This is the topic that came up with the New Hampshire Municipal Association and the AG, and they discussed RSA 4111-sub-A. Thank you. This is just a copy from Police Chief Shigori to Mr. Ledoux, saying thank you. Just a copy to us. This is from Tufton Borough Selectmen to Kathy Conway, talking about Tyler Phillips has changed companies. He was working on with Horizons on the dock,
Right.
And Union Wharf, right?
Union Wharf.
And how do we wanna handle that? I mean, I don't mind calling Tyler up, I just do we wanna continue with Tyler if he's not in an non-compete situation, or do we wanna continue with Horizon, who he was working for?
What are your thoughts?
I think
Well, good. I mean, I don't know anybody else at Horizon, so it's a little difficult for me to make a recommendation there. I think Tyler's been doing okay with us, I don't.
Yeah, he has. I guess the first question is, and I don't want to presume, but often when you leave employment, particularly something technical like that, or you have a non-compete agreement with your former employer,
Very common.
so that you don't cherry pick work you've been doing for them and go someplace else. So I don't know whether if he has a non-compete, then it seems to me that we really can't move forward and use him.
You have a busy schedule. Is that something you want to follow up with Horizon and,
Yeah, I think what I'll have.
or do you want to let Karen do it?
I'll have Karen contact Horizon and have them email us the reason why we should stay with them, and I'll call Tyler and find out what he's doing. Maybe are we meeting next week?
2 weeks. July 6th. And the other thing I was going to mention is our current project with Horizons complete. In other words, they agreed to do certain work for us for a certain amount of money.
Right.
And I don't remember if that project is actually done. And if we're still in the middle of a project with them, even if the project engineer changes, then it becomes a little dicey. Say, oh, we don't want you to do the rest of the project, we'll do whatever.
Yeah, I think we're still in the permitting process.
Was he negotiating sheet piling for the entire complex, or were you? Remember the state changed their mind on it?
Yeah, that conversation hasn't ended yet with AES.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind going back a little bit to the correspondence, there is another thing from Max with you about asking if you do publicly issue a statement of support for the police department.
Publicly
I don't know if that's something you want to discuss.
Sure.
Publicly.
I'll go back to that.
Okay, thank you.
Are we done talking about Tyler Phillips?
I don't know.
No, I don't think we're.
Sorry, I thought you were, I didn't
Well,
I'm sorry.
Are we publicly supporting what?
So this was somebody had sent us an email suggesting that the selectmen ought to issue a notice of support for their police department.
We're not gonna defund them?
Yeah, and huh? Yeah,
It's when,
it's with the other Max stuff.
I think it's on the same email, when you respond and things.
Yep.
Okay, glued together here. Dear Karen, please ask the selectmen if they will consider issuing an official statement of support for the Tuftonboro Police Department, if they haven't already. Across our country, and even sadly in our state, there have been violent anti-police riots over the past month. Police officers have been vilified, defamed, and attacked, and even in some terrible instances, murdered. I think as a town, we should stand against the intolerance and declare that we support the police, because the police support us and are in fact no different from us. We are all members of the same community, and all our lives matter. I hope the selectmen will speak up in support of the police if they haven't already, in which case would you please point me to the minutes. Thank you, Max.
Well,
Who sent that?
Max.
Yeah, I'm not gonna support that language.
Well, here's the concern that I have with all of this, okay? This is the whole Black Lives Matter thing. All lives matter. So we support our police department, we support our fire department, we support all of the other departments in town. And so, and I don't know that there's, I think we have consistently been supportive of their department as well as others.
Well, we're the civilian authority. I'm not about to adopt that sort of language and recommendation to our police department. I'm not gonna be involved with sustaining the thin blue line. It isn't gonna happen. So if you guys wanna vote yes to Max's language, go for it. But my feeling is that we have an obligation to support the department as a function of government and as a function of public safety. But I don't think we need, I don't think we should take proactive statements like Max's language as a form of support. There's going to be any number of times during the course of our term in office where we may want to come into disagreement with the police department. If one of our police officers, God forbid, pulled a stunt like they did in Minneapolis, we'd have a long conversation about how much we're supporting the police department.
I think that it strikes me also as something that is not necessary. There hasn't been any, as far as I know, any question within the town of Tuftonboro, within our area of capability, actions of police. None of that's being called into question, and so it's.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to voice our solidarity.
Well, it's sort of like trying to create a solution to an issue that isn't there.
Isn't there here?
Right. Yeah. Right. And it is only there in some isolated areas. Happen to be some larger population areas. Unfortunately, if you watch the news, you think it's a nationwide movement that has wide support in the general population, but that's not the fact. It's just, it has visibility in the media, and consequently, people can look at it and say, oh yeah, it's, everybody's on board with, this defund the police kind of thing.
Yeah, I think 80% of the population is on board with addressing police issues. And I think we're on board with that as well.
And I would guess, to go back to the conversation we had the other day, that if people were polled, a large majority of the population would be on board with correcting some of the bad practice issues within the medical community of situations where somebody's a bad actor someplace, and it just goes on and but anyway, there are issues that need to be addressed, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think I'm done with that language. We're going to come up with statements from time to time, I'm sure, that will address any problem that we're elected to address.
Okay. Next item is correspondence between Chief Shigori and Amy Smagula. Said he was talking to someone at 19 Mile Beach, Lake Winnipesaukee in Tuftonboro. I saw 2 snails on the sand. I think they're Chinese mystery snails. In her response, thank you for letting us know. And she said they are invasive. She'll add them to the list as appearing in Tuftonboro. And she likes to, for management purposes, like to keep track of that. And she advised him that you pick them up and put them in the trash or remove them from the water. Lisa?
And I'm aware that we've had Chinese mystery snails in the area for a fairly considerable period of time. It's not brand new, just,
Correct, not brand new.
yep.
This is to the Tufton Borough Selectmen. It's an email from Lisa Tremblay. She is the one that talked about a water issue next to her property.
I'll be happy to speak to that again.
Go ahead.
So she had, just to refresh everybody's memory, expressed concern that there wasn't a drainage ditch alongside the street next to her property. And that she had contacted the road agent and he hadn't fixed it. And Jim and I went down there to take a look at it. He had looked at it before and said, you know, it's not appropriate. We looked at it and agreed. I asked Jack to take, as code officer, go down and take a look at it. He looked at it and raised a couple of potential concerns, but none of it had to do with our adding a ditch. I believe we communicated that back to her afterwards. The topography is such that there is a low area in the middle of her front yard that's considerably lower than the edge of the road. And the reality with respect to putting a drainage ditch in along the road is it's not going to take care of the water that gets into the low area because water follows gravity.
And that low area is outside the right of way.
It is. It's out in the middle of their yard. We did observe when we were there that at the downhill end of that area in her yard that she said tends to stay wet, there is kind of a well-up of vegetation that blocks any natural flow of water out of that area. And that it might be appropriate for them as property owners to make it easier for the water to flow from there further downhill to where there's a catch basin out by the road. So she was not happy with the idea that was natural low spot there, and that the town wasn't going to put in drainage, and came back and said, well, they ought to put in under drainage next to the road, rather than just a ditch. And that she demanded that we as a board come out and meet with her at her lot so she could explain what she's talking about. I suggested that Karen invite her to come to our meeting today so we can all sit around and talk about it. And she wasn't interested in coming to have the conversation. She wants us to come meet with her there. I've been there. I've seen it. I think I have a good handle on the situation. And, you know, it strikes me as not an appropriate use of this board's time as the board to meet at her property. I did pull the original plans for the subdivision out, and that area in her front yard that's low, this is back whenever the subdivision was done 20, 30 years ago, it's identified as low area at that time. I don't know if it's classified as wetlands. I think if it is classed as wetlands, then in order to do any alteration on it, you need a permit from DES. It sort of gets into a gray area there, but
There's probably no
again,
water there now.
because it's been dry, right. So what she suggested is, if we came out when it was raining, we could see the water running down through the low area. Well, that's what water does, is it finds the lowest spot. And I guess where I was going with this is that low area has existed when the subdivision was built. It's not something new. It's not something that's happened as a result of some action the town has taken or not taken.
Just as a reminder of the problems we've had at Lower Beach Pond, when we go to a viewing, it's just to see it, and we've seen aerial photography of this thing. It isn't to make a determination.
Right.
We have to make our determinations in public. And if
Exactly.
she wants us to make a determination about that, you know, contradictory to what Bill is thinking, she wants to present her case, she has to do it here. I can't do it, ex parte, if you will.
Well, and even if we met there, it's very difficult to have what's going on there available for the public to understand what's going on.
Since I've been selectman, there's been one time we've gone out, or 2 times we've gone out on the road.
Right.
Technically, it has to be posted. Technically, it's a public meeting. And in both instances, members of the public were walking back and forth in traffic, and it wasn't a safe situation. I've gone and viewed the area. I knew the guy who built it. He was my neighbor. Like this, if she would like to come in and speak on the subject, publicly, you can invite her in, Karen. Yep.
Yeah, and the other part being is that we can't expend public funds on private property. So if this issue is in her lot, unless there's some real exigent circumstances, that's not a place we're gonna spend public funds.
Right. And I, again, sort of what's under, an undercurrent here is the reason that it's wet there is because water from the road is running off into that area. That's only part of the water that gets there. She's got the whole front of the house that comes, it all goes down to that low area in the yard. And even if any water coming off the road was diverted so that it wouldn't get there, it's not gonna
There's
solve
still
the problem.
contributory negligence, isn't that what they
Right.
call it?
I like this. Next item is, the Municipal Association, its weekly COVID, meeting. Is anyone from the board going to attend the Thursday meeting?
Nope, not me.
Well, I've got high-speed internet to deal with.
The town clerk adjusted 1 or 2 hours slightly on her schedule. The road agent reviewed his bills and changed some things around. Any other correspondence? Was there anything in that folder you thought was important? I didn't see anything in there. No. Okay, we're done with correspondence. Selectmen's update.
Go ahead.
The only thing I'll mention is our milfoil harvesting contractor was out. I think it was a tail end of last week. Harvested around the docks at 19 Mile and in Winter Harbor Basin. And they have some additional work to do at the Melvin Marina, but they're waiting for a rainy day when the boat traffic in and out of there is less. Very difficult to get in there and.
We've got one of those coming up.
Yeah,
soon.
yep. That's all I have.
An article in the New Hampshire Bar Association News that I brought up earlier, but I didn't flesh out. Talks about tax deferrals as an alternative to tax taking. We have the ability, and it's pretty wide open, to say to someone who can't pay their taxes, okay, we're gonna give you a tax deferral. That's charged out at a rate of 5% per annum. And it becomes a lien on the property, if you will. So any change in the property, that has to be satisfied. I'm not sure, as I mentioned earlier, but we were off the record, that the notification on the back of our tax bills is appropriate enough to explain deferrals. But the premise is to try to keep people in their houses as opposed to, and we don't do a lot of evictions for the taxes. We have done it, but it's not the only remedy that we have. The other interesting, and I'm gonna get a hold of Rick to have him weigh in on it. As luck would have it, the article on tax deferral was on the same page as the ad he has in there for his cottage colony, so you should have seen it.
Okay.
The other is a Supreme Court decision on the distribution of funds from a tax sale, prior to and after the 3-year limitation. So we should get him to give us his opinion on that as well. That changed. Although we don't keep people's money, other places do after 3 years, and the Supreme Court determined that's a taking. The guy had a $300,000 property and a $9,000 tax bill, so, you know, the town benefited by $291,000, which isn't their money, it's the property owner's money. So it's not a practice that I remember ever doing here, but I still think that there's probably more to the case than the caption that was in the article.
I don't know if Jack.
What I recall is that was a follow-on to a Superior Court decision of several years back, where somebody had brought an action because they didn't get the additional proceeds because it was over 3 years, and they argued that it was an illegal taking, and the Superior Court said yes, it was. So I think it then went to the Supreme Court, which makes sense. I mean, again, when we've talked about this before, we don't want to be in the business of holding property. We want it to be productively used and generating tax revenue. And where it isn't, then after a certain period of time, it's appropriate for us to take the action to get it going. But any excess proceeds over what's owed to the town in taxes, penalties, and other expenses goes to the former owner. And you know, regardless, it seems to me correct that regardless of how long it's been, that's still the.
Yeah, it was in conflict anyway, because you have a right of redemption for 3 years.
Right.
And then everything changes.
Yep.
I don't get anything.
Right.
And the other articles in there, and it seemed to be very municipally oriented this month for some reason, are a couple of 91A cases that the court looked at. And I think the legislature is going to start looking at some of it as well, as far as personnel records. This is primarily police and that sort of thing. Usually trickles out into everybody's information.
My turn. I sat down with Jim Bean and he listed out the paving projects. North Line Road, Dame Road Section 1, and Dame Road Section 2. You reminded me that Section 1 we postponed for a year.
Right.
When I add up his estimates to reclaim, to pave, and to do the shoulders, it comes out to $186,000, $2,005. And as of the checks written Friday, he has $205 left. I asked, can you please pay special attention to the materials that he purchases that takes a month to weave its way through the process, the rock, the gravel, the stone, and some of it's expensive.
So he's done paving, is that what?
Oh, he's only done North Line Road.
Okay.
The other thing is that he's still taking trees down, and it's about $1,000 a tree by the time you take it down by crane, dig it up, and all that. So I asked him, please, what are the estimates on those things? One other thing is a citizen pointed out to me, and I will see Jim personally, as you come down North Line Road on Federal Corner Road and make the corner, the paving is in the road, but where the catch basin is was not paved. So, first of all, track
on the east side?
Yes, right by the farm.
Okay.
Okay, as you come to Ledge Hill Road, that's going to have to be addressed. First of all, when a vehicle tracks, and I noticed the vehicle in front of me actually went down off the road because a truck was coming the other direction. The other thing is, I've looked at towns around us, that when there's a catch basin next to the road, they paved it, so the shoulder doesn't wash into nothing. But I will ask him about that person. The second thing I have is George Elkins from Banfield Road called me by telephone. He was pleasant. He wanted to ask if he could speak with someone in the town concerning a property on Banfield Road that may need some attention to its general disrepair and items being stored on the property. And I told him that, Jack works on those things. So I will pass this paper on to you, Karen, okay? Yeah, I like that. He mentioned that, he or his wife had called in years past and he's always got an appropriate call back and was pleasant and he was not complaining, just looking for information. Now, that's all I have under Selectmen's update. Any other business? Karen, do you have any other business? Anyone that's not here have any business? You folks. Is there anything in non-public we need to go into?
I didn't see it.
Karen, there's nothing pending, is there? And the confidential stuff is there. Oh, goodness, before 12.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks for playing.